Sir, your voice, I cannot hear your voice, sir.
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Now only, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is my screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It is changing, right? Can you see the two different slides?
Yes, we can see, sir.
Okay. So, a very good morning to all the participants uh, and all the faculties members, and teaching and non-teaching staffs, those who are present in the online mode. So, in this workshop that is for basic digital literacy, focusing on computer skill for the youth. So I will start from the basics, that is from the computer organization. Okay. So here I will explain about the basic computer organization. So this will contain the only the basics part of the computer related to from the different generations, and then whatever the present generation it is there. And I try to related this to the students because what information I have got it, that is, it will be based on the students or undergraduate students mainly. So I prepared this one according to that so that they can have an idea. Those who does not have any idea about the computer before, then they also have an idea after going through this slide. Okay. So now, first thing, what is actually computer? When I say computers, so if you, all of you know this one, we say this an electronics device. But if you go back, that is from the year 1640. If you see the year 1640, the computer means referred to perform calculations only, right? It is doing some calculations, only these things it is saying this one. So in that case, there is no electronics device, no mechanical device is there. This, in this case, the computer means they are saying about the mathematicians or the bookkeepers, right? They have an calculate this one mathematics. They are doing this one. Bookkeeper has to calculate how many books are there, how many books are taken out. So in year 1640, when I say a computer, that means it is one form of calculations which is doing by the human being, no artificial, that is mechanical device or electronic devices. Now coming to 1897, if you go to the 1897, in that case, it become a calculating machine, right? The same as if you see, first it is a calculation, now it become calculating machine. That means some machines are there. Machines means mechanical machine, right? There is no electronics, it is there. It is a mechanical machines. They are using some relays, some mechanical devices. They are using it, and they are using to do some calculations in 1897. Now coming to 1945, right? It's the starting of our present days digital electronics computers, right? That is, when you say a computer generation, that means it starts from 1945. Before this, whatever we are saying, this one, that is either is a mechanical, or mechanical means we are going for the mechanical devices, relays and all these things. And prior to this, there is a human being who is doing the calculation. Okay, so that is how it is evolving when I say a computer, right? So we will mainly concentrate on this one, that is digital electronic computers. That is what is the development taking place from 1945 onwards. Okay, whatever the development, it will take place from the 1945 onward. Now here, what you say, this one, when the computer was first developed, it said this one, the computer does not know, that is, they cannot think it. Whatever we are saying to the computer, they will do it only that one. right? So that means we have to give some input to the computer, or that is, if I say a computer is a device without saying a computer, so we have to give some input, right? Then it will process this input. Okay, it will process this input. Then finally it will give some output. That is, there are mainly three steps when you are saying it. That is, input, process it, and finally you are getting the output. Okay, three part it is there: input, process, and output. So simple example, if we say this one, suppose you want to do an addition. Okay, we want to do a addition. Then what we require? We require two numbers. Suppose 2 plus 4 I want to do it. So I require two numbers, 2 and 4 I required it. So that 2 and 4 will become input. Okay, and process means I have to do the addition. 2 plus 4, that is, I know it 5. 2 plus 4, I know it 6. That is, that additions I have to do it. So that addition process is called the process. Okay, and finally we are getting the output, that is 2 plus 4 equal to 6, right? Some I have to display it, or by voice I have to say it, whatever media we are using it. So I have to get the output to the normal word, that is, which they can understand it, right? So that is what we are saying, the process. So in that process, and finally you are getting the output. So in this case there are three blocks, I can say this one: input, processor, and the output. So from this, if you want to define a computer, so if you see, a computer is an electronics device that takes input, process it. That processing means it can be an arithmetic, that is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, whatever, and logical operations. So that is some logical, that is, if this is equal to this, x, and if z is equal to y, then what will be the output? That is some logical aspect it is there. In technical term, or in the from technical point of view, we are saying this one: AND operations, OR operations, NAND operation, like this. Different types of logical operations are there. Either it will do that one, or it will do process it. That is arithmetic. Only these two process they are doing it, and they can produce any type of output which you require it. So that is what you are saying. This one, computer is an electronics device that takes inputs, process it, and as per the user instruction. That means I have to give the instruction. That is what, that's the example which I've said this one, that is, I have to do the addition, right? Addition is the instruction. So as per our instruction, it will produce the output in the desired format. That is, if I write, I want the output in the summation one, that is, I will get this one as 6. 2 plus 4 equal to 6. That is the desired output. So this is the normal flow of computer processing, right? Input, processor, and output. Okay. Now, if I go in between, in depth of this one, right? So what I am doing this one, in this case, same thing I am keeping it, right? Input as usual, whatever I have shown it. Output is also there. Now this CPU means this is your processor, right? Processing. Here it is doing the processing. Okay. So processing it is doing in one. So this is the block which will actually work, right? And I require some device, that is memory device, which will store it, which will store the instruction. Instruction is addition, right? Additions, I am giving the instruction. Where it will be stored there, that instructions will be stored in the memory. Or data, that is 2 and 4, either I can give it from the input, or I can take it from the memory. Already it is there in the memory. Okay. Or after addition 6, I can store it in the memory, or I can output it, whichever I want it. So memory is an internal part, that is a very important part in a computer. So this extra block it is coming in, that is the memory part, where you are going to store it. Okay. Again, the processing unit, or normally what you have seen it in your, those who have seen the computers or those who have used it, they are saying this one, if you go to the desktop computers, and what is desktop and all those things, I will come one by one. So what is desktop? You say a cabinet is there. So that cabinet, I am saying this is a processing. So under this, there is a CPU is processing unit is there. So this processing unit, this one, this is consists of two parts. One is ALU, another is the control unit, right? This ALU, it will do the summation. The example which I am saying it, that is the arithmetic operations it will do. Okay, this will do the arithmetic operation. Okay, this will do the arithmetic, and the control unit will give signal when to add it, when to output it, when to take the input, like this. If I compare this one to a normal human being, the control unit, we can say that is nothing but our brain. If I compare the computer with ourselves, we can say this control unit is nothing but the brain of the computer. Okay, so this is simple idea what actually a computer is. Right. So what we have seen this one, there is mainly three blocks: input unit, processing unit, that is normally we are saying this one is a CPU, then the output unit, and memory block. Okay. Now, where you are finding the computer? Right. Now this computer has entered to every aspect of your life in communication. Right. In communication. Now everybody is using internet, right, to communicate between two persons. You are using this internet, so that is one example of a communication. That is when you want to communicate from one person to another person, either directly, that's what I am doing it. That is with the help of the computer I am doing this. That is, I'm sitting it Arunachal, you are sitting it in the, somebody of you are sitting it in your Tripura, somebody is in Nagaland, somebody is in Mizoram. So all are connected. We are communicating among ourselves, right? So that is where we are, the computer has entered. That is the communication, research, right? So when you research means what? We are doing some things which is not present. We are going to develop something from the existing one. So in that case, our research is there. The science students, those who are present here, they can easily say this one. That is the science. That is, we are doing a lot of things, analysis and all these things. We are doing the research part. Okay. Art students are also doing it in the research part. You have to write something of your research. So instead of writing in a paper, you can write in the computers and you can store it. Or you have to do some analysis. The art students, if you are taking some data from different aspects, that is, you are, suppose you are from Tripura, so you are collecting data from different regions of the Tripura, and you have to analyze this one. So that is also one type of research on it, right? So there also we are, the computer has entered there. And the entertainment, that everybody is familiar with it. That is, one is the simple form of entertainment is what we are doing it. That is the playing games, right? So there, either you play it in the mobile or in the computer. That is the same thing, because mobile is a mini computer only. We can see it. We'll see this one how it become a mini computer. So everything, if you see entertainment, then lot of things we can do it, right? So this, in every aspect of our life, the computer is entered. Okay, so we can say this is an era of information technology, right? We are sharing our information. That is what I am doing it. I am sharing my informations with you, right? Whatever the information I am having with me, I'm just sharing it through which media I am doing it, through the technology, right? That is through the computers, means through the technology I am transferring it from a far place. So that is this era of computer technology. Now, what is the benefit of computers? Why you have to go for them? First is the accuracy. Okay, accuracy means exactly the value I am getting it, what the value I wanted. If you see, if I do 2 into 4, 2 into 6, 2 into 7, if I do 2 into 4,000 or 2 into 7,000, I am getting the result exactly same. There is no mistake, we will get it, right? So if the computer is programmed in such a way that we will not get any errors in this, whatever we are setting it, we are getting this one. That is one of the main benefits. Efficiency, right? It will give you the output in very less amount of time, right? And reliability means that if you do the same thing again and again using computer, we will get the same output. There will be no changes in the output, right? But if you see, if a human being do it, there is a chances that they can make a mistake. But what we are considering is that your computer cannot make a mistake. So whatever it is, fix it accordingly, it will do it. So whatever the data I wanted, exactly the same data I will get it. What is the previous results I am getting it? If the input is same, we will get again the same output. So these are the three benefits in general. If I say this one, that is accuracy, efficiency, and reliability. Okay. Now I'll go to the history of computer. How the modern day computer evolved. Okay, actually we started from 1945. Before this, if you see, the history of computer has three distinct types. One is mechanical computer, right? One is mechanical computer. Second one is electromechanical computer, and third one is electronic computer. Mechanical computer means all the components or all the parts which you are using, they are all mechanical parts. Relay and all these things are there. Switch, relay, that is mechanical switch, everything is mechanical, but they are developing it. Then come the electromechanical. Some part of the computer is electronic device or electrical device, and some part is a mechanical component. So that we are combining it. So it becomes little bit faster than the mechanical computer. And finally, it comes to the electronic part when you are going to the saying to the present day computer. So the present day computer starting means we'll say this one, that is from the electronic computer it will start it. Okay, electronic computer, it will start the present day computing. Okay, now how actually the computer is doing everything? Now all of you have heard the word digital, right? All of you have heard the word digital. Now actually what is digital, right? So there, if I say two signals, one is continuous signal, that is what I am speaking it, or whatever the signals in naturally it is available. They are all analog signal. That means they are all continuous signals. So if you say it, if I say an analog signal, that means it will be continuous signal like this. There will no cutoff, right? It will be a continuous signal. Okay. And if I say a digital, when I say this one, it will have some, after a particular interval, I will get some output, and the magnitude of that output remains same. Okay, in this case, if you see the magnitude, in this case, if you see the magnitude, it is, in this case, it is different. And if you see the next case, it is constant magnitude we are getting it. So digital means everything, either it is yes or no. Everything we are representing this one by either yes or no. That is, if I go from a mechanical point of view, whether the switch is on or the switch is off, right? Anything I want to represent it, I will represent it by two signals, either yes or no. That means only two digits I require to represent a signal. That is either one, we can say that is either one, or I'll represent it by within zero. Okay, either switch is on or switch is off. So if I have some components which I can make it on or off, right? And that if I use to do our work by making it on off, if I complete our work, then we can say this is how the computer is evolving, right? So we'll start from the electronic computer. That is, its generation starts from 1945 to 1954. Every generation is approximately 1 decade. That is 10 years we are taking it. That is depend upon the development. But the development it is there. Now this switch, the mechanical switch which are present in the earlier generation, earlier computer, that is your mechanical computer or electromechanical computer, this is now that switch is now replaced by some electronic switch. Okay, and the first electronic switch which were used in the computer is nothing but the vacuum tube. Okay, this is that how you look at vacuum tubes. Okay, so I will not go in depth of the vacuum tubes, just I will say this one. So there will be three signal. That means if I want to, this is one node, this is another node, this is in simple way if I say it, right? So I want to transmit something from here to this location. So that will depend upon what I am giving it here. If I give this one as 1, suppose, then it is transmitting it. Then if I give 0, then there will be no transmission, right? That is, it is just like in a gate, I can say this one. So normal gate, what is this one? If you open the gate, we can inflow, we can move into the from one part of the side to the another part. If you close the gate, we cannot move it. The same is the concept what you are using in the vacuum tube, but that is developed electronically. Okay, so that is the first component, electronic switch, which is used in the computers, and it is used in 1945, and the first computer was designed, and that is The first computer is designed and it is known as ENIAC. Okay, ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. Okay, and the size of the computer, you can see it. It is a size of a room. One room, one computer. If you look at this, right? So it is having a very small memory. Hardly we can say it is something around 5 MB of memory. Now, whatever the mobile phone you are using it is, or normal phone you are using it, we are having in the form of GB. And now you can easily imagine one room size computer that is having hardly a 5 MB of memory size, and the switches are all vacuum tubes. And you can see this vacuum tubes if you get a chance to go to the All India Radio or TV stations, old radio stations, you can see there these switches are there. Nowadays also they are using this one in some of the radio stations. Okay, so this vacuum tubes is used as a switch to design this one, and there it is size of a room, and it is very heated up, right? Once you just start it, it is heated up. So we require a cooling system. Continuously we have to cool the device, otherwise it will damage this device. Okay, so here I'll show you some of the early generation, that is first generation computers name. That is, one is ENIAC, Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. Actually, this was developed by Pennsylvania University in US. Okay, University of Pennsylvania, they have developed it, this one. Then another one is IAS, that is Institute of Advanced Studies. They have developed, and there it is in Princeton University. They have developed this computer. Then IBM 701, then Universal Automatic Computer. That is, these are some of the first generation computers. So what are the features of these computers? They are using vacuum tubes, use of input and output instructions. We are using some instructions, just suppose addition, subtraction, simple instructions, we can do it only. Then introduction of ferrite core memory. Okay, then assembly language is used. Actually what happened, when I say computer machine, what I have stated earlier, they can understand only 0 or 1, either yes or no. So everything, why it is yes or no, that means either the switch is on or switch is off, right? So they can understand only 0 and 1. And that language, when you are giving some signal like 0, 1, 0, 1 like this, that is, we are making the switch on off, that is called, in technical term, it is said as machine language, right? So for a human being to remember this type of language, it is very difficult. So we are more familiar with the English language. So we are converting this machine language to some code, alphanumeric code, and that is called the assembly language. Okay, so that is used in the first generation. Then electromagnetic magnetic drum for storing the memory. Okay, that is storing data. That is hardly of 5 MB memory it is there. And storing the operand. Operand means that is nothing but the instructions. Storing the instructions and the results, we are having some registers where you can store it. Now, drawback. What is the problem in this? The size of the computer is very large. Just from that diagram only we have seen it, that is, one computer is equal to the size of a room, right? Second, it is excessive heat generation, right? It is very heated up. Whenever we are switch on, it is all the relays are working, all the vacuum tubes will be on, off, this one. So a huge amount of heat is generated. So we have to use some cooling systems there, right? Normally some AC type of thing, that is continuously air, we have to blow it so that it is not heated up. Then again, low storage capacity. That means the capacity to store the data is very, very small. That is hardly 5 MB it is. Okay. Next comes second generation. Now that vacuum tubes is replaced by this transistor. It is very small size. This is the one transistor. One vacuum tube is replaced by one transistor there. This is just transistor. Okay. So what is happening there? Then when I reduce the size of the switch, automatically the size of the computer is reduces. So I can inbuild some more functions in the computer. Okay, so now the size of the second generation computer, IBM computer, that is this one. It is shown it here, and you can easily imagine if you look at, we compare with the previous diagram, it is size is reduced now, right? Why? How? Why it is reduced? Because this vacuum tube is now replaced by transistor. That is what we are saying. This one advancement in technology, right? That is advancement in technology. When I say this one, you have most probably all of you have heard the word technology. That is from vacuum tubes to transistor. When you move it, we can easily reduce the size of this computer. Okay. Now, if you go to the some of the computers, okay, which are there during the second generation, IBM 209, that is name of the computer. Then Control Data Corporation, they have developed one, CDC 1604. Then Livermore Advanced Research Computer. There are some of the name of the computers which is developed in the second generation. That is from 19. If you see, the year is second generation computer. That is from the year 1955 to 1964, right? So, and what are the features of this one? Discrete transistors and core memories are using. We are using that whatever the vacuum tubes, that is replaced by some discrete transistors. Then floating point arithmetic was there. Then multiplex memory access, right? More than we can divide the memory into different blocks and we can access it different level. Then the high level language is introduced. That is COBOL and all this language come into present. Now, difference between your assembly language and high level language is that if you have to know the architecture, if you have to know about the computer, then only we can program it. Then that is all low level or the assembly language. And if you need not require to know about the computer or the platform which you are using it, which computer you are using it, we did not know about this one. Just you can write your program in any computers, right? That is called your high level language. That is a platform independent language. Okay. So the nowadays when you are writing it, you have maximum of your hard also, that is C language and all this. These are all high level language, right? So this we did not require in which computer we are going to run it. Any computer you can run it. Okay. So that high level concepts come into pictures from the second generation. The problem, the same problem remained there, that is cooling system. It is also a lot of heat is generated. So we required a cooling system. Then it required maintenance at a regular interval of time, because there is a chances that these transistors, if it is heated up, it will damage this transistor. So we required a maintenance of this computer every time. And now at that time to develop these transistors, it is very costly, right? So the computer also becomes very costly in the second generation. Okay, but the cost of the computer is less than the first generation, but then also it is very costly. These are some of the problem in the second generation computer. Next come your third generation computer. Now what we are doing this one, we are replacing this transistor by this type of ICs. Okay, we are replacing the computer by this type of integrated circuit. No, that is the transistors. In the first one, we have used vacuum tubes. Second generations, we are using transistors. And the third generation, we are going for the ICs, integrated circuit. Now, what is actually this IC? In this IC, here in the third generation, there are two types of ICs we are using. One is SSI, another is the MSI. Okay, SSI means it is small scale integration, and MSI is the medium scale integration. Now, what is the specialty of the SSI means? If the IC is an SSI IC, then it will have something 100 approximately. We can incorporate 100 transistors in this simple IC. Or M is an MSI. I can go up to 500 transistors in the single IC. So see the advancement. In the previous case, vacuum tubes, then it is replaced by single transistors. Now, when the ICs come, right, when the ICs come, so what will happen? So we are designed, first it is designed as an SSI, then it is advanced to MSI. That takes place in the third generation itself only. Now, what is SSI? That means we will have maximum up to 100 transistors in a single IC. So you can see the size of the switching device is reduced. And when I say MSI, the number of transistors in that IC is increased to 500, right? So if you look at this, when I say this, then the size of the computer is coming like this. If you see, there are some steps are also given there. So there, if you see, there are some computers which is present there, right? So now it is something coming to the present day computer looks, right? So number of transistors, if you are inbuilt more number of transistors in a particular area, that is in this area, if you have more number of transistors, then what is the advantage of this? That is more number of functions I can do, more number of operations I can do, because more transistors I can use to build different operations. Okay. In the previous case, I have having a less number of transistors because the size of the transistors are large, so I can have only few applications. But in this case, more number of transistors we are incorporating in a small area, so more functions we can go for it. Okay. So that is why this advancement in technology has reduced the size of the computer. Okay, so these are some of the computer series, that is IBM 360 series, which I have just shown it, that is the IBM 360 series. Then Honeywell 6000 series, personal data processors, then IBM 371, 68, TDC 360. Now, what are the features of this? If you see what I've said it, that is we are using SSI and MSI. Use of integrated circuits, that is small scale integration or medium scale integration. Now it is reliable than first and second generation. It is more reliable than the first and second generation. That means there is a less chances of faults occur in comparison to the first and second generation. Third is small and it is very fast. Okay, less energy consumption than the other generations. Right, that is what we have seen it. Size of the device reduces, means your automatically the energy consumption will be less, and the mouse and keyboard which you are using, that come into pictures. Right, that is the first time the mouse and keyboards are utilized in the third generation. Okay, so if you look at that is from when the mouse and keyboard come into pictures, that is approximately from the year in this era, 1965 to 1974. Okay, in this era, the mouse and keyboard come into pictures. Okay, now high level language, that these are some of the language. So a high level language, Fortran, COBOL, Pascal Basic, these are some of the language which will come into present, that is a high level. Now, what is the problem in the third generation? Same cooling systems, right? So cooling system, so I have to keep your computer in an IC, that is in an AC room. I always require a AC room. That means I have to maintain the temperature at a particular level. That is, I have to maintain the room temperature. Then integrated circuit production, that is this IC production is very difficult at that time. Now it is very simple. It becomes simple in comparison to that, but during that time, it is very difficult to design this or manufacture this IC. That is one of the constraints which is there, and price is high for personal. We cannot go for personal use. That personal use means that nowadays everybody is having a computer. That is their personal use, right? So this is not available. This one in some laboratories only we will get it, high sophisticated laboratory where we are maintaining the room temperatures and everything. We have to follow certain, that is, we cannot go to the room with your shoes and all these things. So we have to follow certain procedures. Then only we can use these computers, right? So it is not available for personal usage. Okay. Then come your fourth generation computer. Okay. Now, indirectly we can say this one, that is from the fourth generation, your computer start moving to our present day computer. Now this ICs, now it is replaced by some microprocessor, right? Why? So we are now using VLSI, right? Very large scale integration. VLSI means very large scale integration. Okay, very large scale integrations we are having it. Now here we can incorporate around 10 lakh transistors in an IC. Okay, we can incorporate around 10 lakh transistors. Okay, so that is the concept of microprocessors come into present. So 10 lakh transistors we are incorporating in a single IC. That means that single IC can do lot of functions. Addition, subtraction, and all the arithmetic, logical operations, comparing everything. This single IC itself can do it, right? That CPU, what I've said, shown in the starting block diagram, all the functions, this IC can perform it. So that means your size of the, when that is a computer is the size of the room in the first generation, that is now coming to a size that is fitted in a table, right? Previously the size of a room, now this computer is fitted in a table, because what the processing unit, that is the processor, what I showed in the beginning, that is now coming to a size of a IC. Okay, so that is what in the fourth generation, that is from 1975 to 1990. Okay, so that is one fourth generation IBM PC. It is showing this one. So if you can easily see, that is, it is fitted in a table. So all the nowadays it is something seems to a present computer, that is your keyboard is there, right? Your monitor is there like this, CPU is there, all these things are there. So keyboard means this is an input, right? This is an input. Keyboard means it is an input. Okay. Monitor means this is an output, what I have shown it, and this CPU, this is the CPU. Here itself the memory and everything will be there. Okay. So that block diagram is now, if practically if you see it, it seems like this. Okay. Now this computers, when I say this, there is IBM 3090, IBM 4341. These are some of the three, VAX 9000, PDP, Cray, XMP. Now this is actually something supercomputer concepts. Supercomputer concepts is coming there from this Cray XMP computer. Okay. Now what are the features of this one? First thing, it is VLSI. What I have said is just now, there's a very large scale integration circuit are used that integrate millions of transistors in a single IC. In a single IC, I will have millions of transistors. This number of transistors will be there in the single IC. Okay, so this is due to the development of technology. That is, what is the changes in the technology? Vacuum tube, then transistors, then ICs, then your microprocessors. That is the VLSI. So there is a changes in the technology. So this bring it to the improvement in the computer. Then single board computer and the single chip processors revolutionize the concept of personal computer. That from this, your personal computer concept come into present, right? Since the single ICs, whatever you are having it, single board, single chip processor is saying this one, that is the microprocessor, what you are saying is. So that bring the concept of personal computer. They are faster, smaller in size, more reliable, and more energy efficient. Okay. Now this, whatever the high level language we are using in the third generation, they are advanced, they are more developed, and then basic Pascal, COBOL, Fortran, C, C++, DBase, all these languages come into picture. Okay, some of you have already have an idea about this languages, and somebody may have heard it, and somebody might have heard it for the first time. So these are all some of the high level languages which are come into picture. This, if you see the C, C++, these are nowadays also we are using it. Okay, so these are the one of the features of the fourth generation computer. Then another thing is that from the fourth generation, the concept of internet come into picture, because we can, there is a develop in the field of networks, that is communication, the connecting from one computer to the another computer connections. Lot of development from the technology point of view it is taken place, and the concept of network was introduced in the fourth generation computer. And another thing is that in the fourth generation, the heat whatever it is generated, right, by the computer or by the processor is reduced drastically. So without AC, we can use the computer. That is what we are doing it nowadays, right? Without AC, we no required to put the computer in an AC room. Anywhere you can use it. That is why you can do it, because the heat which is generated in the earlier generation, that generation of heat is reduced here. Very much it is reduced. Why it is reduced? Because the power which is required to run the computer is reduced. If you reduce the power, power means the supply voltage, if you reduce it, then automatically the heat production will also be less, right? So when this heat production is less, so this AC is not required. So what you require there? We required some small fan, or we can say this is a cooling system, just above the processor, right? Mean about the microprocessor, where huge number of transistors are inbuilt. I required a fan, and that is called a cooling system, right? And we have also heard it also now in laptop nowadays. This sound is not there, but if you use some desktop, if you see, if you switch on the desktop, there is some sound is always coming up. That is nothing but the sound of the cooling system fan which is there. So this AC is replaced by this fan there. Okay, so that is one of the positive things which we have seen it in the fourth generation computer. Now, very small size, portable, we can carry from one location to the another location, and it start become available in the market. Anybody can now purchase it in the fourth generation computer. Now, every development, there is some advantage, there is a disadvantage. So in the fourth generations also, we are having some disadvantage. Now, what is the disadvantage? So we have to develop some VLSI circuits. That is, we have to incorporate it around 10 lakh transistors inside this, a single ICs, right? So to do this, we required a very high technical knowledge, right, and skill whenever we are going to design this type of circuit. So highly trained and highly talented person, skilled persons is required to design this type of circuit. That is one of the things, constraint which is there. And another thing is that we are replacing the air conditioning system by a fan. So in the fourth generation at the beginning, that fan will make a huge noise, right? So that irritated the person who is using the computer. That is another thing. And since we are using different ICs in the CPU, right? So we required again technical skill person to assemble this ICs. Assemble means to mount these ICs in the CPU. So we required some technical skill person in that case. Okay. Now come your fifth generation computer. Now this fifth generation computers, it starts from 1991. Okay, 1991 to present, whatever you are using it. Now there, the concept of artificial intelligence is introduced, right? Computer is a machine. Now, if you can make computer to think like a human being, if they can think it like a human being, they can we can say this, that is a concept of artificial intelligence. Okay, so that is what the symbol, what I have shown it here. So that is a machine. I have shown it here, some machines in the brain. The computer, if the computer thinks it, you can make the computer to think like a human being and then decide it, just like what we are doing it. Up till fourth generation, what is there? We are giving some instructions, they are doing it. Right? I give some instructions, according to that instruction, the computer is working it. Now, if you can make the computer to think like a human being and the computer decide itself whatever to do it, that is the concept of artificial intelligence, and that is built in the computers. Now you have heard lot of time, that is the hardware and software, right? So whatever the advancement we have done it up to fourth generation, that is because of, mainly because of the advancement in the technology, that is vacuum tubes, transistors, SSI, MSI, then VLSI. So there is a changes in the hardware part component, so that's why there is an advancement. Now in this fifth generation, here this hardware as well as software, both combining, it will work together, and that is make the development in the computer, which give you the present computer. Now what is hardware and software? I will come to it. Okay. So this, so I'll not give the directly the particular name of the computer. So you are more familiar with this term. So that's why I'm giving the name like this, desktops, which are using it. Okay, desktop, laptop, notebook, ultrabook. That is, ultra is more smaller size than the laptop or notebook. Then Chromebook. These are some of the present day computers which are using it. They are all falls under the fifth generation computer. Now here we are using ULSI technology. ULSI technology means we are using something around this amount of transistors in a chip. You can easily imagine how many number of transistors we are incorporating in a single chip there, right? So if you incorporate this amount of transistor, that is around 1 crore transistors in an IC, that falls under the ultra large scale integration. ULSI means ultra large scale integration technology we are using there. So definitely the size of the computer is reduced. That's why this notebook, laptops, ultrabooks come into pictures. Then high level programming language, it is there. Parallel processing and multitasking concept. That means at the same time I can do 2-3 operations. In the previous case, what it is there, we can do either only one operation. Now if you in your laptop, if you see, you are running, we are doing a lot of things at a time, right? Somebody is playing game at the same time, in the background some another program is running it, like this, and you are also hearing some sound, you are hearing some sound, some music, everything. That is all the process at the same time. That is the parallel processing, multitasking concept is bring into present. Artificial intelligence is incorporated in the computer systems. Voice recognition features, that is, if you speak something, the computer can understand it, who is speaking it here. That is what you have seen in your mobile phone also. You can directly, by speaking, you can open the phone, right? That is your, it can recognize your voice. You can ask something, then directly, nowadays this Alexas and all these things are there, so directly it will play it. And so these are the some of the concepts which is new concepts is coming to the computer. Then quantum computation and nanotechnology, that is some of the recent technologies advances which is incorporated in the present day computers. Okay, so this is all about your then one more thing, that is the problem. Everywhere the problem is there, development is there as well as problem. What is the first problem arises? That is the human related problem, that is the unemployment. Because of the computer, our work, which previously the human being is doing it, this is now totally taken care by the your computer. So day by day, your unemployment arises. Okay. Now the computer thinks like a human, so there is a possibility is that the machine will take control of the human being. So that is one of the great risks which is also there in since the advancement in the technology. Another thing is that we are using a computer, we are using a mobile phone or whatever the device, electronic device, it will work for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. After that, we will discard it, right? So that become a electronic wastage. Now this electronic wastage, what is there, that never degraded, right? So it will always remain there. So that will have a negative impact in the environment nowadays. So that is another drawback, because nowadays everybody is going for doing work for the computer. We cannot avoid computers because we want everything very fast, right? So there are huge amount of computer productions are going on, not in a computer, that is electronics device. It is production, it is used for 5-6 years, then it is discarded. So that become a electronic wastage, and that will have a negative impact in the environment. Now another thing is that nowadays everybody is hearing this one, cyber crime. So that frauds and all these things are there. Why? Because excessive use of technology in form of computers, right? That is, our personal data is now open to everybody. We are having a financial losses. That is, financial loss means if you are not utilizing it properly, your money which is stored there in the bank, some another unauthorized person can take it. That is what we are saying. This one is financial losses can be there. So these are some of the drawbacks which come into picture because of this excessive use of computers. Okay, so this is what we have discussed it up till now. That is all about the what is computer, how it is evolving, right? How it is evolving up to the present generation. Okay, now we'll come to the what is actually we are having it nowadays, right? The function of the computer. The function of the computer is input, processing, output, and storage. Okay, so this same block diagram I am showing it here. Input, output, memory, and this one. And if you see in it, there is a line which I am connecting to all the device from the CPU. Actually, this is coming out from the control unit. That means this control unit is controlling all this part: memory, input, output, and anything. Suppose I have to do some addition, so I have to give some input through the input device, right? Through the input device, I have to give some input. Suppose I am doing some additions, that's 2 and 5. I want to edit, so 2, 5, I will input it from the input device. Okay, so when to take the input, when we will receive the input, that totally depend upon the control unit will decide. The control unit will send a signal to the input to send the signal to the CPU, then only it will send the signal, and accordingly the control unit will give a signal to the ALU. ALU means arithmetic logical unit, ALU in short. That is, it is doing two operations, that is either arithmetic or logical operation. So from this, it has the name ALU, arithmetic logic unit, right? So it will give a signal to the ALU, then it will edit. Now, whether you are going to store it in a memory, the result, that is 2 + 5 = 7, I want to store it in the memory, or I want to display it to a monitor. So that depend upon the control unit will decide. So if you want to store it, it will give a signal to the memory to store this data. And if you want to display it, then it will give a monitor to display the data. So this is the normal process in a computer, how it is taking it. So the control unit is the heart of the computer. Now this control unit is nothing but the processor, right? This ALU and the control unit is combined, you will form the processor there. Now first you come to the input. The data which you are entered to the computer with the help of the input device, right? That's why it is saying as an input device. That data can be a raw data. Raw data means it can be some 0101 machine data, that is which the machine can understand, or it can be letters, that is ABC, ASCII codes and all these things, or it can be images, or it can be any other ways we can input it. Okay, the data can be. So some of the example of the input device are this one, which I am showing it. That is the keyboard in the computers. Then mouse. Okay, because mouse, when I move the cursor, that means I am pointing out. So that means I am giving some signal to the computer, this point to this location or to that location. I'm clicking left, right button. I am clicking it. Suppose I am clicking this one right button. This window is open. So that means I am giving the signal to open that particular window. Then when I click the left button, then it is going to the next page, right? Like this it is there, right? Okay. Next come the scanner. That means any paper it is there, I can directly, if you put in a scanner, so that is an input device. It will just have a beam of light move about this, that is it is scanning it, and it will input these characters to the computers, whatever it is present in the paper, and it is stored in the memory. So this scanner become an input device. Then joysticks, normally this is used to play game. That means if I rotate, if I move these things, it will go left, right, or there are some knobs are there. So normally it is used to play games and all these things. So this can be also an input device. Okay. Then trackball. Trackball means if I move this ball accordingly, there will be a movement in the cursor or the pointer which is there. It is there. Then light pen, that is now which I am using it now here. This light pen, if you see, I click it, I can write anything. Whatever I am writing in the pen, that is displayed in the computer. I am not writing in the computer this one. I am writing in this pen. Right, I am writing in this pen and it is displayed in here. So that is also one form of input, because I am writing here and data is input to this one. Okay. So input can be in the form of anywhere, that which will bring data or which will bring the characters to the computer. Next comes your processor. Okay, the core functionality of the computer system is the processor. Main thing is the process. That means I want to do something, you give the input. If the computer cannot process it or cannot do the functions, then that is useless. So that is the main core function, is the processor. Now this processor, what it is doing is we are giving some instruction, accordingly that it will do it, right? Now speed of the computer mainly depend upon this processing speed, how fast it will give you the output, right? How fast it will give you the maximum of the time to determine the speed of the computer is depend upon this processing unit. Or if I say a mobile phone, the speed of the mobile phone will depend upon this processing unit. And if you see in any electronics nowadays gadgets, right? I'm saying this one as a gadget, that is your mobile phone, if you take it, or any electronic device or computer, if you take it, we'll see this type of board, right? This type of board here inside this. If you just open it, if you find any damage from laptop or a mobile phone, if you open it, you will find this type of board, right? And this board is called your motherboard. Okay. Now the processor, the CPU, which I am saying it, this is put here in this part. Right, it is, sorry. It is somewhere, it is put it here, right? Intel, that is what is written there. That is, it is put it here somewhere, it will be put it there. So there are some, this is the CPU processing unit, what I am showing this one. This is an example of Core i7 X series processor, which now the recent computers are having it. And another one is that is Ryzen processors, right? This is made by Intel, manufacturer Intel, and this is made by Ryzen is okay. AMD processor. Okay, AMD processors, they are making this one, Ryzen processors. So these processors are there in the motherboard. Okay, these processors are available there in the motherboard. We are fixing in the motherboard. Now we require some memory also to do the function, right? We require some memory to do it. That means only this processor and the motherboard will not help us. So this is the memory. You have heard also maximum of your time, that is the RAM. This is the memory, and this is incorporated somewhere here. This type of slots are there, right? It depending upon the different motherboard. So this type of slots are there. It will fix it in that slot. Okay, so these are the three blocks or three components which will be available in any type of processing unit, right? In the process, one is the motherboard. To the motherboard, we have to fix some this processors and the RAM, and along with that, some ICs will also be present there. Okay. Now, this speed of these three components will determine the speed of the processor. Along with the memory speed is also there, but mainly based on these three parts, it will determine the speed of the processor. Okay. Now, output. So output, where you can take the data from the processing unit and extract, and we are presenting in our the way which you can understand it. The simple way was that what you are seeing in this is a monitor, right? Monitor is an output device. Second, we are whatever we are writing it, or we want the printout of this one. So printer is an output device. We are getting an output. Projector, we can project it. Then speaker, we are hearing it. So that is also an output device. So like this, we are different types of output device. We are having it. The main function of the output device, so whatever the processor, after processing it, whatever the output it is going it, to represent this one to the user so that they can understand it. Okay, the device which is doing these things, these are called the output device. Now storage, the memory which I am saying it. Now when I say the memory, that means there are two types of memory. One is the primary storage memory, another is the secondary storage memory. Because when the computer is processing it, when the processor is processing it, it required a temporary storage memory to store the data, and it should be very fast, and the speed is it should be near about to the processor speed, right? So to store this one for a temporary purpose, we require it. So that type of memory is called the primary storage memory, and it is same as the RAM, right? So when you see in your mobile phone also, there are two memory it is there, right? We can have it like this. That is, one is, say, we can say, suppose 2 GB memory and something around 32 GB memory, right? If you see your mobile phone, we find it like this. Any Android phone, if you take it, or 4 GB memory, we are getting it. This 4 GB memory, what we are seeing it, that is the actually the primary storage memory. And similarly, in computer concept, if you say this one, that is nothing but your RAM, that is DDR RAM, what you are saying it. This is the symbol, that is the actual picture of a DDR RAM, right? These are two types of DDR RAM. This one is DDR4 RAM, okay, like this. So there are two memories it is there. If you, those who are having this mobile phone, or you are looking for this presentations from mobile phone, after this, if you see it, you see the storage of the mobile phone, you will find two memories. One is the internal memory, so it will something around 4 GB or 6 GB or 2 GB, like this it is there, and another is that 32 GB or 64 GB, and nowadays more than that is also there. So this 4 GB and all these things, whatever it is there, that is the temporary memory. Why it is called temporary memory? As soon as we switch off the power supply, whatever the data or whatever the we are storing there, that will be lost, right? For temporary, it is stored there, and that is used by the processor to run any function. Okay. Next come the secondary storage. So this storage means we can store the data for longer duration of time. If you switch off the power supply, if you take it off also, data will be intact. That is one simple example is the hard disk, right, which is connected inside the computer. One is the external hard disk, that is which you can take, you can carry with you. You put the data and you can take it. And maximum of you have used this one USB flash drive, right? That is the USB. We are using it. So that is also a secondary hard disk. If you see, you store something in your USB, and if you take it out, it will remain there. And if you again connect it, then again you can access it. So there is a no loss of data in this case. So they are called the secondary storage. Then CD, right? CD, which you are using it, we can write it there and you can use it for future uses. Then most probably maximum of you have not seen this one. That is floppy disk, that is used up to I think 95 or 2000 also there, around 95 98 to 1998 this is used, floppy disks and all these things. Now it is absolute, and now we are not having a slot in the PC also. If you get a chance to see old PC, there will have a slot, and it is having a memory size, it's something on only 1.44 MB, right? So from CD, floppy disk, CD, then USB hard disk, like this, it is we are going on, right? So previously, if you have to carry that some data, we have to use floppy. It can carry up to only 1.44 MB. Okay, that is from up to 1995, 96. People are using this one, floppy disk. Now it is absolute. It is not. If you will not find it, this one. Okay. So this is about the secondary storage which is there. Now hardware and software. What I said it. A modern computer contains both hardware and software. The term hardware refers to the electronic circuit in the computer. The term hardware is used for all physical items in a computer, including mechanical, electrical, and electronic assemblies and components. All the things which I have shown it now, up till now, they are all hardware, right? System box, keyboard, CRT, monitor, disk driver, printer, other peripherals, whatever it is, I have shown it, or whatever the hard things which I have skip it, that all falls under the hardware part. Along with that, if you see in the motherboard, there are some small components are connected there, right? So they fall under electrical, mechanical, and electronics. Electrical, there's motor, power supply, transformer, relay, fans, PCB, wires, cables. They are also hardware. Mechanical, switch, panels, covers, chassis, nuts, screw, all these things. Screw are there to fix it, nuts, then your cover, cabinet, everything fall under the mechanical part. These are all part of a hardware. Then electronic, resistor, capacitor, coil, diode, transistor, IC, crystal, LED, opto, isolator, CRT, speaker, photosensors, delay lines. So all these things, mainly this part, components part, we'll find it here in the motherboard. I will just show it here. In this motherboard, we will find it. Small these components are there. Maximum of the things we will find it there. Okay. So these are normally we are saying at the hardware part. Now, what is software? Now, hardware is the things. If you see a user is there, hardware is there. I want to do something, the hardware will not understand me, right? So there should be some communication between the hardware and the user, that a human being and the hardware, right? So that whatever I want it, the hardware will understand it and it will do that function. Now, who is doing this one? That is the software. Okay, so it is what is showing this one. The software is developed to solve a problem and it controls the hardware when the program is executed. So it will automatically control the hardware according to the user. The hardware can be seen visually, whereas the software is logical action plan that is not visually noticeable. We cannot visually see it, right? Now again, computer software can be classified into two types: system software. A system program is a program which helps in efficient utilization of the system by other programs and the user. It generally developed for a given type of computer and it is not concerned with specific applications or users. Okay, so system software ultimately it will not depend upon a particular application or particular user. It will just become a bridge between the hardware and the user. I want to do something, so that instruction or information I'll say it according to the user, and the system software will interpret it according to the hardware device. So that is the function of the system software. One example of the system software is the operating system. So you have seen this on Windows, right? If you use a computer, you are using Windows or Linux or Unix like this. So this type of symbol which it is generated there. So here I am using the Windows 10, Windows 7 is there, before that XP, now Windows 11 is also there, right? So like this, these systems, That is, without Windows, your computer is not working, because whatever the instructions I am giving it, the hardware does not understand. Who understands? The Windows has to convert it to, that operating system has to convert it to the hardware understandable language. Similarly, the Linux and mobile Android mobile phone, all of you have seen this symbol, right? The mobile phone, when you switch on and switch it off and or make it on, or your power supply goes down, this type of symbol is there. That is the operating system for the mobile phone. Then if you are using an Apple company, Apple makes, then this Apple iOS is the operating system for the Apple devices. Okay, so these are some of the system softwares. Then application software, that is, program is a program for solving an user problem. I have a specific problem, I want to solve it, right? For that, I require some software, so that can solve it. That is the MS Word. I want to write a letter, so I cannot write a letter in the operating system. So I require another program, set of program, or another software where I can write the program. And that is one example is the MS Word. Okay, Google Docs, same function it is doing. What MS Office is doing it, Google Docs will do the same thing. Then Windows Media Player. Suppose I want to hear some sound, some music, so I require a media player. So Windows Media Player is a software. So these are called some particular specific applications. It is used there. So that's why it is known as an application software. Then VLC Media Player, then Google Chrome, that is for browsing purpose. Mozilla Firefox, for browsing purpose we are using it. Then for Photoshop, that is for editing the photos, we require the Photoshop. The Adobe Photoshop is an application. So this, for a particular application, when a software is there, that is called the application software. Okay, so this is the layer of computer. If you see at the core, your hardware is there. Now it is surrounded by BIOS. So BIOS means basic input output operation. That is, I have an hardware. The hardware should know it. That is, the computer, when I connect this pen drive, or when I connect a device to the computer, so it should configure the device according to the computer. So who is doing this one? The BIOS is doing the basic input output system, right? So that is, hardware is covered by a BIOS, because that will give you an idea what the hardware is to the operating system, that is operating system or compiler. Okay, and finally application program through which we are running a particular application, right? So this is how your computer is. So your computer cannot be only hardware or cannot be only software. It should have hardware plus software. Okay, so types of computer, the personal computers. So that is the normally the computer which you are using it, the personal. So personal computer, commonly known as desktop computer. It has processing and storage unit, visual display, audio output unit, keyboard that can be located easily on a home or office desk. That is whatever you are using it. And if you are concise it, meaning you are reducing the size and you put this one in the form of a briefcase, then it will become a portable notebook computer, right? That is the another. Everything whatever in the desktop computer is there, that we are reducing it and we are putting in a smaller size so that we can carry from one location to the another location. That is called the portable notebook computers. Then workstation. So whatever the function it is doing in the desktop, the same thing we do it, but with more features. That is with high speed, everything. That is whatever, if you are using their 4 GB, so here we are having something around 32 GB of RAM, like this. Hard disk, if you are using 1 TB, so it will have around 32 TB of hard disk, like this we can have it. So a huge amount of storage device, it is there. So like this function is also increases. That is in the workstation for research purpose, or some more sophisticated or some more accurate data if you want it. In that case, we are going for this one, workstation. Then the final one, that is the enterprise system. That is the server. One is the server if you are going to a small low end. Another is that supercomputer. That is one example. It is which I am showing this one, Institute of Technology. It is very fast. So whatever the desktop and computers are doing it, the function it is doing it in the more efficient and more faster than this one with more functions, right? So then we are saying the servers and computers. Normally, a personal use, we are not using this one. Okay. So application of computer, already I have explained a lot of things. So this is falls under this one, the store important data, office work, that is data entry and all these things. Then communicate with people, that is internet flow, finance and marketing, education system, government sector, press, publishing, sport, entertainment, everywhere we are using computer. Advantage of computer: amazing speed, accuracy, multitasking, support, data security, use storage, then automations, then reduce cost. Right? Automatically it is doing everything, and the cost is also reduced. Disadvantage: health issue. That is what we have seen. The health hazard is there. Unemployment, cybercrime, virus, and hacking attacks. It is there because of excessive use of computers, spread of false and inappropriate content. That is, we can easily calculate nowadays misinformation to a lot of people because of this excessive use of technology, negative impact on the environment, and improper use. Okay, so we can see this one, the computers became an unavoidable part of our day-to-day life, right? So, but although it has some advantage and disadvantage, we cannot avoid it. It become a part of your life, and you have to go through it. We have to keep it with you. If you are not using computer, means ultimately you are at least you are going to a 2 decade or 3 decade backward, right? So you have to use computers, but in the proper way you have to use it, since it is an era of technology. So with this, I conclude my presentations here. These are some of the reference from where I take it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, do you have any queries? I have posted in the YouTube also. In case you are having any questions, you can feel free to discuss with sir. Students, anybody? So anyway, in case you don't have any queries, this will be available to you offline also. In case you are having some doubts, you can post it in the YouTube live. You can later on take up. Sir is having one more session. So let me know if you have any query. Any one of you, I think in Google Meet, more than 41 of you are there. No queries? Thank you, sir. I think they are not having any queries. So, thank you, sir. Yes, sir. One question has come from Vinita Kumari. What can we think will come in the next generation?
Hello, can you repeat the questions again?
What can we think will come in the next generation?
What can we?
What can we think will come in the next generation? Means what is the future?
Your actually sound is echoing, so I cannot hear it this one properly.
So my question is that what improvement more will come in the next generation?
Okay, so what improvement? That is one thing is that there is use of this quantum computing and nanotechnology. There is development is going on in the field of data communications. Our main thing is that we can now become the system faster one by transferring the data in a faster speed, because the advancement is hardware part is limited now. So from the point of software and the data communication, it is one thing, it is there. That is, if you can flow the data at a very, very high speed, then our system will become very fast. That is nowadays what we are saying it. Somebody want to say this as a 6th generation. That is the next advancement field which is going.
Anybody else?
So can I ask one more?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir, like we hear that everything like in Google Photos, they are stored in clouds. So what is that process? That where are they stored?
What is?
So like we hear that we can store all our photos in Google Photos and they are stored somewhere. So where they store so much of data?
No, they are storing it in the form of a server. They are storing it, this one, and which is make available to everybody, right? That is with some security they are putting it and they are making it available to everybody. So that is what we are saying, this what cloud storage, this one.
I'd like to add, Vinita, we have one session by Dr. Majumdar, Abhishek Majumdar, on tomorrow morning at 10. So that will be, we have kept it for cloud separately, computer network and cloud. So you can know more details from him as well, because he'll be discussing that, as well as we have another session with Dr. Majumdar on Thursday, where he'll be discussing Google Cloud, Google Drive and other things.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any question? Okay, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us. We are very happy to have you. And just to inform the students, I will be taking another session on Tuesday. That is tomorrow in the second session. So you can say yes. You can meet sir in the second session tomorrow also. So thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, then can I leave now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.